Good evening, everyone. It's Tuesday, June 23rd, in the infamous year of 2020, and we're going for a drive and a chat tonight. Got a lot of topics I want to cover. Hopefully I have timed the mileage on this sort of right. You're not going to see anything new scenery-wise on this drive, except for one minor detour I'm going to take up in the town of Palmerton, and I'll explain why when I do it. Other than that, this is all roads you've seen before. Hopefully, I've been turning the air. I turned the air conditioning down a little bit. Hopefully you don't hear too much noise from the AC. We are in the midst of an absolute heat wave here. It's 88 degrees. It's humid, and I'm going to pause for a second to let my Texas friends have a good laugh at that. Go. Alright, pick yourselves up off the floor, back in the saddle. 88 passes for a heat wave around here. Feel free to come up here and cool off if you'd like. I know you guys have had a lot worse. Now I'm watching a car who's doing a stupid thing where I have to merge. This intersection actually has me a little bit unnerved. They found, this is a little bit north of Cementon. I guess this is technically North Whitehall. They found a body here the other week. Somebody dumped a dead body in the middle of the night. Well, I don't know if they dumped it or if... I don't think they know. Those barrels by the guardrail, there was a fatal motorcycle crash with a FedEx truck the other day. This has sort of been a dangerous stretch of road. And the reason I'm unnerved about that body is right on the other side of this road is the D&L trail where I frequently walk. You've seen my video to Clear Spring Pond, and it just bothers me that it's that close to somewhere that I'm walking. I don't think they've determined what happened yet. I don't even think they've made a statement saying there's no danger to the public. Anyway, enough about that. I'm just a little unnerved about this stretch of road. That's not why I'm making the video. There's three main things I want to cover today, and each of them, of course, has subtopics. I want to update you on what's going on in Pennsylvania. I want to update you what's going on in my personal life. I'll talk a little bit about my work situation and a big decision I'm trying to make. I'm not going to go too into that. I mostly want to talk about my progress with hiking some trails with the goals that I've set. I've done actually a fair bit of exploring in the last couple weeks. So I want to talk about that. And as a bonus, the third topic, I didn't know where that car was going either. I swear everybody's learning to drive again. The third topic's going to be a bit of a bonus. I'm going to kind of walk you through... there's a book, or I'm kind of stumbling here. Our dear friend Dennis78382, he's an avid reader, I'm an avid reader. And with my recent interest in the Appalachian Trail, Dennis recommended an excellent book to me, which I finished a couple nights ago, by Bill Bryson. It's called A Walk in the Woods. It was his attempt to hike the Appalachian Trail back in 1996. And it's a great book. It's a mix of just facts and history about the Appalachian Trail itself and about the geography that it travels through. And then it's also a personal story of his adventure and the companion that he hiked with, and, you know, a lot of near mishaps and stuff that happened to them on the trail. It was easy reading. It was fun reading. The fact that I've dabbled in the trail recently gave me a good perspective on it. So I'm going to save the trail stuff till when we get closer to the trail. We're crossing the Lehigh River now. I know I say that 50 times in every video, but the river's everywhere here. We're crossing the Lehigh River on Route 145 North. This is Trichlers. We're crossing Blue Mountain Drive. We're heading towards Slatington. And I'm going to use this first part of the drive just to talk about what's going on in Pennsylvania. I had actually recorded a video a week and a half ago that I never uploaded I'd done a very, very long hike, which I will talk about later. I mean, this is typical me, 50 topics, bear with me. It was a wonderful hike, but I was absolutely exhausted and wrung out at the end of it, and I'm not sure that video was very high quality. And in any case, a lot of what's going on in Pennsylvania has changed in that week and a half, so sorry you're not going to see that one, but I'm going to cover the important points here, hopefully with a little bit more to see along the way. So what's going on in Pennsylvania? We are reopening. I'm in Northampton County right now. We've been in the so-called yellow phase for just over 2 weeks now. That reopens it reopens most businesses. Anything that doesn't have a large crowd. Still closed are things like indoor malls and gyms and hair salons, stuff with physical contact, stuff with crowds. That said, I had my semi-annual dentist appointment after work today, which was a little bit of a weird experience. They just reopened a week ago. It went well, both in terms of everything's good, I don't have any cavities, I don't have any problems, but I was a little anxiety-ridden about, going into the environment. I've been very isolated. It's weird to say that it's weird to be around people, but it's weird to be around people. But it went well. And I was in and out, and I felt a lot better after it. So some things are reopening. Next Friday is the big day. Everything in Pennsylvania goes green, except for Lebanon County. That's out near Lancaster. I'm not sure if Lancaster is in Lebanon County or Berks County, but basically Amish country. Lebanon County is going to stay yellow a little longer, but the rest of Pennsylvania is going to be green. That means restaurants are going to be open again, of course, with, an endless list of rules, limited capacity. I think malls will reopen. I think gyms will reopen. Actually, I know gyms and salons will reopen. I think malls are included in that. So it's more or less back to normal with capacity limits and wearing masks and social distancing and truckloads of hand sanitizer. Of course, there's still not going to be any big sporting events. NASCAR is running at Pocono next weekend. I don't know if they're allowing crowds or not. No one's allowing crowds. I don't know if they're allowing spectators. I know they had spectators at, I forget where they ran earlier this week, whether it was Atlanta or Talladega. I did see that they had, I didn't watch the race, but I did see in the news that they allowed some people in. I don't think Pocono's going to let anybody in, though. I could be wrong. Anyway, that's going on. The only big event I had scheduled for the remainder of the year, I've talked about it a couple times, is the Rob Zombie concert in Bethlehem in August 2nd. And they've now made it official, Music Fest for 2020. I'd like to say it's canceled just because it's not going to be going on in Bethlehem, but they're moving it online, doing it virtually. I mean, personally, if I want to see a band, I'll call up a YouTube video. I'm kind of not sure if that appeals to people. But the headline acts like Rob Zombie, I know Willie Nelson was supposed to be there too. I didn't have a ticket for that. A couple other big name acts. Those are not going to happen. They're not going to move those online. They told us to hang on to the tickets. They're not canceled, but what they are doing, they're trying to work individually with each artist to reschedule them for Music Fest 2021. So hopefully that's still on my calendar. Hopefully I'm going to go see Rob Zombie next year. So that's something to look forward to. For now, that's, they've made it clear that being in the green phase doesn't mean everything's back to normal, but I think it's probably as normal as we're going to get until there's a vaccine. And on a personal level, I still plan to do, I do have some risk factors of my own and some concerns about my own health, should I catch it. I'm not planning to go out and do a whole lot. Other than my trails. And I mean, I feel perfectly safe on the trails. I've said that 100 times. So honestly, my life is still kind of going to be on lockdown. It's odd to say this. I'm not seeing that as a bad thing. This year, I mean, I've been very busy with work and the side business. But it's given me a chance to really focus on a lot of the other things that I'm constantly saying I don't have time for, I don't have time for, I don't have time for, such as exercise. And that's probably a good way, now that we're approaching Lehigh Gap, that's probably the perfect time for me to transition to talking about Lehigh Gap. If you saw my video probably about a month ago already, I'll put a link at the top of the screen where I explored the winter trail. In hindsight, I thought that was a long hike. That was 1.25 miles. That's nothing compared to what I've done recently, but it was just an exploration of the winter trail. And my goal is to get on top of Blue Mountain, which we're looking at straight ahead. This is the east side of the gap, and that's what the winter trail will lead up. The Appalachian Trail runs along the ridge. I've since gone back, and there will be a second video. I've gone back to the winter trail. I've gone further. Right now, I cannot get up that side of the mountain. It is just too steep. The Appalachian Trail proper, I found out, because there's 2 ways up. I cannot do, and probably never can do, the Appalachian Trail part of going up, because they say, I talked to 2 different hikers, they said when you get near the top of that, it's almost literal rock climbing. That's not me. That's never going to be me. I struggled to even climb trees as a kid. I've always wanted to climb, but it's not, even if I'm fit, it's not me. The winter trail, I think I can get up eventually. I tentatively went up a little bit of the sloped part, and getting up, yeah, it's some work, but I can do it. The problem for me is actually getting down. Just for some reason, I'm not very sure-footed getting down. I only have 1 hiking stick. I've noticed that most serious hikers on the trail have the 2 trekking poles. I may try to get a matched pair, see if that helps. I mean, they go down that thing like it's nothing. Of course, they've been doing it a while. But that doesn't mean I'm giving up on this dream. I'm going to do it eventually. And here, the timing's right. Pointed straight ahead, that's the western side of Lehigh Gap. And the Appalachian Trail continues along that ridge too. In fact, if you turn left across State 73 here, that bridge, hikers on the Appalachian Trail actually have to walk on the side of that bridge. So that's actually part of the trail. That's probably the easiest part of the trail. But there's the winter trail's up on the ridge to my right. You can't see it, but it's right above this concrete wall. On the left side, I don't know how well you can see it. You can kind of see a tan line. Just looks like dirt kind of going up the mountain and then leveling off. And you can see the old railroad bridge abutment. It goes up there. I hiked that trail, and there will be a video. I hiked that trail a couple weeks ago, and I was able to do it. I was able to get up the steep part, and I cheated. I didn't go back down it. I actually walked along the trail that rings that side, and then came down a gentler slope, and then just walked back on the D&L trail, and it worked out really well. And that was a 2.7 mile hike, and I thought that was good, but I've since outdone it. What I discovered when I did that hike, when you get to the part where that trail levels off, the trail is called the LNE Trail. It's actually an old rail trail. It's got to be the best kept secret in the Lehigh Valley. I had no idea there was a rail trail hiding in plain sight. So what it is, it's the old rail bed of the Lehigh and New England Railroad. and it parallels the D&L trail. It runs at about maybe a third of the height up the slope of Blue Mountain. And at that point, it's perfectly flat, and it's pretty easy to walk. And so I went back and hiked 3.62 miles from the western end over by the turnpike tunnels, almost to the same point where I'd peeled off. And it was after that hike that I filmed that video that I said I didn't post. I was delighted with what I had done, and I was utterly exhausted all at the same time. And now this brings us to our detour, because now I've kind of circled around through Palmerton, and I'm looking up at the north face of the east side of Lehigh Gap. And Dennis, I want to point, I'm kind of doing this for you, but I'm doing this for anybody who wants to read Bill Bryson's book. I'm going to actually pull off here just a little bit. Oh, we're not looking at, I'm sorry, we're still looking at the west side. I haven't turned the corner yet. I was only on this road once a couple of years ago. Now we're looking at nothing but trees. Alright, let me give you a little backstory. Chapter 14 is the best chapter in that book, in my opinion, because it all takes place in places that I know, at least most of it. He actually took a side trip off to Centralia, which is nowhere near the Appalachian Trail. That's somewhere I've been wanting to go to do some videos. Unfortunately, they've taken away one of the main attractions, but I'll save that for another day. Anyway, he was just doing, instead of doing a through hike through Pennsylvania, he was just doing some day hikes. And he came to Lehigh Gap, and he talks at length in that chapter about pulling into a parking lot, trying to find a way up the east side of Blue Mountain. Sorry, there's a car coming up on the left here. I just want to let him get by so I can slow down and tell my story, if any of you are still with me. I know a couple of you will be. But anyway, so Bill Bryson pulled into a parking lot trying to find a way up the mountain here. Now the east side's coming into view. And it was so interesting hearing him tell the story. And I think I've got the right parking lot, but I pulled into the same parking lot doing the same thing a couple of years ago. That was before I had the drive cam, so there's no video of it. You can probably guess we're heading towards that parking lot now. And I'm not going to trespass, because I don't want to mess. That security guard was apparently a real prick. That's alright, they got the gate closed. I couldn't go in there even if I wanted to. And I guess I gotta turn around. I thought I could actually cut through this road back into town. I guess I can't. So the security guard basically was giving Bill crap for looking at the quote hill. The security guard kept calling it the hill, which is kind of funny because it's the biggest mountain around. But this is what Bill was looking at. And if you see that ridge just above the tree line, that's the winter trail. And on my second hike on the winter trail, I actually passed through that and went a little bit to the left towards the town of Palmerton. And then it was just getting late, and I knew I'd kind of gone a distance. And see, I thought according to the map I was supposed to be able to go through this road and loop back into town, but clearly that's not happening. Anyway, that Subaru was probably doing the same thing. He was probably trying to find a way up on that trail. Because actually from the winter trail there is a little footpath that descends to the parking lot that this trucker is heading to. There was actually, silly me, I'd gotten a little excited. I heard all this sound of diesel engines idling, and of course I thought train. No, it wasn't a train. It was about 4 tractor trailers sitting in that parking lot idling. But you know, it was funny because I was looking at that parking lot. I was like, wow, that would be nice if you could park here, go up to the trail that way. But you can't. And then the irony of it was, like, not even a week later, yeah, we got someone out walking dogs. This is a nice area. I like driving through here. nice people up here. Very laid back compared to the cities. Yeah, it was a little surreal, just a week later reading Bill Bryson's account of, having the altercation with the security guard there. I guess the fence hadn't been closed the day he went. Anyway, interestingly, what the security guard told him to do to get onto the Appalachian Trail was to drive the way we're driving now. Going through the town of Palmerton, we're now heading east. And he told him pick up the trail where it crosses Blue Mountain Drive by the ski resort, which, if you've been watching me any length of time, I've passed through that gap 50 zillion times, and I point out the trail every single time. And even more ironic, I know I did a drive and chat video, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago. Time is just blurring together this year, where I was driving the opposite direction. I had gone to do the curbside pickup for dinner at Blue Mountain, and that was an excellent dinner, by the way. Actually, I didn't even think of it, I should have ordered something up there tonight. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I haven't had a lot of good food during this pandemic, so the few good meals I've had, I have really savored and really appreciated. And so the other funny thing about reading that book, because I had, remember as I was driving the opposite direction in that video, I was pointing out how the Appalachian Trail follows the ridge atop Blue Mountain. In that video it was to our left, in this video it's going to be to our right. And said, well, the easy way to get to that viewpoint at Lehigh Gap really would be to walk the flat part of the trail. The problem is it's about a 9-mile round trip. I can't do that. I can't even close to do that. But sure enough, in the book, that's exactly what Bill Bryson did. He parked at Blue Mountain Drive. He walked across the ridge of the mountain, got to the east side of Lehigh Gap, and I had a really good laugh. And I don't have the book with me in the truck to give you the exact quote, but I had a really good laugh because he got to where the trail goes down the mountain, and he described it as something to the effect of an absurdly steep 1,000-foot descent. And I had a really good laugh because, here's a guy. He did not hike the whole trail. I don't want to spoil the book. He hiked a very significant portion of it, but not the entire thing. And I'm thinking, here's a guy who has seen and done and traveled a heck of a lot more of the trail than I ever will. And he's looking at the path that I want to go on and describing it as absurdly steep. And I just had a really good laugh about that. And it also made me feel not so bad about changing my goal. I am not giving up at all on the idea of getting to the top of Lehigh Gap. But it's kind of like when you set any goal. Sometimes you have to set smaller goals to work your way up to the larger one. And by starting to explore the western side of the gap, that's exactly what it's going to be for me. It's going to be an interim goal. I've texted at length a good friend who's done a bit of hiking on that side. And I've also studied the maps pretty carefully. And I believe that I can get up the west side of Lehigh Gap probably before Labor Day. Don't hold me to that, but I'm going to try. I think I can do it. I think I can do it fairly quickly. And I mean, let's face it, the view is going to be almost the same. It'll let me start hiking on some more slopes. I'll get more strength in my legs. My balance should get better. Hopefully my confidence will improve greatly. Now you can see the mountain better. Now you got houses again, but you get the idea. The interesting thing too, I've never gone out on, I've crossed the trail crossing on Blue Mountain Drive 50 million times, but I've never gotten out of the car and even looked at the trail to see if I think I could handle it. And so in Bill's book, he describes that part of the trail, and it actually sounds like a pretty easy hike. I can't do the 9 miles round trip of it, but it sounds like I could do some of it. And I'm going to do that very soon, possibly as early as next week. I do have some time off from work coming. Hopefully, I always put in an asterisk next to that. The company is very prone to trying to get you to cancel vacations at the last minute, especially if you don't have travel plans. But right now, my plan is to take next week off. And that's one of the things I want to do. I want to drive up to Blue Mountain Drive. And apparently all along this ridge, because this is a pretty bald and bare part of the mountain, apparently there's a heck of a lot of good views, very easy to get to, and just somehow it never occurred to me to go do that, because I guess I just really love Lehigh Gap so much. So, yeah, I just thought, I thought it was cool that, it was really neat reading, the whole book was really good. It gave me a much deeper appreciation for the trail and what conditions are in other areas, and probably also the conviction that I'll play with it locally and that'll be enough for me. But it was really neat to hear someone else describe in detail an area that I know and love so well. So expect to see more of that. I do have videos coming. My second winter trail hike, which was 2-point-something miles, I'll have that video, and then I will have 2 different videos from the 2 different halves of the LNE trail. I call it 2 different halves. It's one trail. I just did it in 2 hikes. And then I'm going to keep exploring. There's other trails there, and the Appalachian Trail itself. I know I can handle the first part of that from Lehigh Gap Nature Center. I'm going to do that soon too. So with that said, goals and decision making. Dennis knows this. I've beaten around the bush enough. I have a very big decision to make in my life right now. And I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail. Gosh, I didn't even notice this talk about another diversion. My truck just turned over to 88,000 miles 8 miles ago. Should have been paying more attention to that. I always miss the significant mile things for some reason. Anyway, 88,000 miles on this thing. It's holding up well, though, knock on wood. Yeah, so I've got a big decision to make in my personal life. In terms of work. I've been working from home for 3 months. Things have been changing by the day. I mean, actually, as of this afternoon, when I was already deep in decision-making territory, I found out we have to go back in July, July 9th. Oh, and I should have turned there, damn it. Sorry. That's the shortcut. I got a big pickup truck on my you-know-what right now. That's the shortcut to Blue Mountain Drive. You get a better view of the mountain, but what the heck. We'll go a little further, and now you get to see the covered bridge again. It all goes out to the same place. Yeah, so we have to go back to the office July 9th. I have some personal health and safety concerns about that, but I also know that my time at that job, I say it's coming to an end, but quite frankly, I've overstayed my welcome there by at least a year or 2. And it can be tough to make a decision to do something new. I haven't had a lot of luck in the job market, but you guys know, hold on, don't want to run the stop sign and run into this car. I will say, when you don't, I'm kind of beating on other drivers for driving a little erratic, but when you don't, I'm used to driving regularly, and this isolation period where I'm only on the road once or twice a week, you really do lose your edge. Anyway, we got a small covered bridge here in Lehigh Gap. Again, I'm not showing you guys anything new. You've seen it before, but I always enjoy going through this. I'll find you some other covered bridges for other videos. Pennsylvania has lots of those. Some you can drive over, some you have to walk. So anyway, since the beginning of May, my little side business has taken off like a rocket, and the reason you haven't seen a lot of videos from me in recent weeks is honestly I'm putting in full-time hours right now. It's, you know, I haven't sought out this work. It's just come through me. Whoa, come to me. That guy swung a little wide. Definitely don't want to hit that car head on. It's a nice car. This is where that other road would have joined. So I'm putting in full-time hours. Honestly, I'm making more at the side business than I am at my full-time job right now. With that, however, comes, you know, there's no benefits, there's no health insurance, there's no paid time off, and there's obviously no security. I mean, there's not really any security at the day job either, but you know, the side work, you know, could evaporate as quick as it came. I personally think it's going to go on for a while. I think it may even pick up more. And that's what I'm trying to assess. I mean, you know, the high-level view is, okay, if I leave the day job, now I've got time to market the business. That's something I've never done before. I've never marketed the business. And if I'm getting this much work without really trying, imagine what I could do if I tried. And then the logical part, you know, the thing is, they say listen to your gut feeling, and that usually steers you right. And my gut feeling is saying this is your time. You know, work for yourself. This is what you've always wanted. I'm very happy doing it. Much, much, much happier than doing my day job, which, quite frankly, I'm not happy with at all, ever. And then the logical side of my brain kicks in and says, we're in the middle of a pandemic and an economic collapse. What the bleep are you thinking? And quite frankly, I think that's the only thing to fear is fear itself. And I think that's probably what's holding me back right now. But let's just say I'm going to be doing a lot of thinking over the next couple of weeks and trying to make that decision. Is this the right time? Things keep changing day to day. You know, it could be a whole different picture a week from now, but you know, stay tuned. There might be some big news. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm gonna put a link at the top now to a video that's not even mine. I know a lot of you guys also watch Rusty78609. I watch his channel avidly. I've watched it pretty much since the week he got his casita. I've gone back and watched some of his old stuff. I try to keep up with him daily, and he posted a really good video today about making decisions. And it was very timely. You know, as I'm in the midst of mine. I mean, this may be the biggest decision I ever make. And I'm going to pop a link to that video up there. I think you guys might enjoy it if you haven't already seen it. I don't think Rusty watches this channel, but if you do, Rusty, that video meant a lot to me today. It really did. It was what I needed to hear at the right moment. And I'm going to change the topic real quick to just say we crossed the Appalachian Trail. This is where Bill Bryson hiked from here west back out to Lehigh Gap. You can see how long it took me to drive that, so imagine hiking it. Enough said about that. Back to the decision-making thing. You know, Rusty said something in that video that really really meant something to me today, and this is a paraphrasing, it's not his exact words, about making no choice is actually a choice in itself, or making no decision is in effect a decision. And I've heard it before, sure, I think we've all heard that before, but it hadn't come up yet during this decision-making process until I heard him say it today, and it just really, really struck me and really put things in perspective, because in a way, it's kind of what I've been doing for 2.5 years with this business. When I started it was officially born. The business was actually officially incorporated as an LLC January 1st, 2018. So it's 2.5 years old. I keep calling it a side business because that's what it's been. But the intention has always been to grow it into something full-time. And, I've been in no hurry to do it. My thinking is, I'll keep working through the day job, and just at some point, I guess I kind of thought there might be a magical point where I would just know that, hey, this is it, your time's arrived, go full-time. And of course, now that I'm reaching that point, it's not so simple. There's no green light, so to speak, as we sit here at a red light. There's no green light saying, Jamie, this is it. Oh, hey, this is it. It turned green. Maybe that's a sign. The universe can't give me a direct message saying, Jamie, this is the right time. Quit your job. Take this business full time. It's a decision. It's a choice. And that's the essence of what I'm wrestling with right now. And I came actually very, very close to doing it 2 years ago. Almost identical circumstances. Of course, there wasn't a pandemic, but the economy was doing very good. And I took the week of 4th of July off as a vacation week from my day job with the firm intention, and I mean, I really meant it. I was going to go back in that following Monday, and I was going to give my 2 weeks notice. And I chickened out. I didn't do it. There were some good reasons for not doing it. You learn a lot of lessons running a business. I learned some very hard ones in my first year. I made some good money that first year, don't get me wrong. The business went well, but there were some things I was doing with it for certain clients that I was not okay with how things were being handled. I don't want to say anything more than that, but I'm not working for those clients anymore, and that is 100% my choice. And so in that sense, I'm glad I didn't go full-time then, because I think I would have then been locked into working for the wrong kind of client. I don't want to get into more detail than that, but it's taught me a lot about pricing my projects, working with clients that are trustworthy, that I have a good rapport with, that I like doing the work. Thankfully, that is what I have right now. So it's kind of like, here's your second chance. It's the same scenario all over again, with the only difference really being the pandemic, the only other difference. And so I've got 3 more days of work at the day job this week, and I've got a week off, assuming they don't make me cancel it. And then I got a decision to make. Am I going to go back to the office and worry about my health and deal with the toxic environment and I mean that, I guess right now, I mean it physically and emotionally. It's a very abusive workplace. And again, I don't want to say a whole lot more than that, but it's not the kind of place you look forward to going to every day, and really wears down your energy and motivation. And that was the other thing that had stopped me from building the business, is you just 2 years ago is what I mean. is you just get tired, you just get worn down, and you don't have anything left after getting home from it. And unfortunately, you're forced to go there every day. And what ends up getting cut is your efforts to really improve your life. You come home too worn down, and you don't do anything, and then you go back the next morning and you're like, wow, why didn't I do anything? And it's just this endless cycle of wash, rinse, repeat, so to speak. And so if I make the decision to go full-time now, I kind of short circuit that problem. I feel pretty energetic right now. I've been working from home for 3 months. Other than the pandemic and the world situation and my job, my life's been pretty good these last 3 months. I don't want to make light of the crisis and the civil unrest that this world is in, but I'm actually having a pretty good year, and I'm feeling pretty good about things again, and I have a lot of new ideas and a lot of I feel refreshed physically and emotionally and energetically, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the fact that I've been getting out, I've been hiking, I've been biking and all that. That all helps. But I gotta tell you, taking away the stress of having to go into that very difficult office environment every day, not having to deal with that has given me a lot of renewed energy and enthusiasm. And so if I make the decision not to go back, maybe that's the right moment. Maybe that gives me what I need to really push this to full time. I mean, yeah, I'm technically putting in full-time hours. I'm doing it full time. Obviously, you got to get a couple more clients on the books because, there's no guarantee it's going to stay full time. But, yeah, I rambled on more about that than I intended to. Got another cool car coming up. I don't think there was a car show, but that's just interesting. So many of them coming from that direction. Oh well, I've taken up enough of your time. I am going to edit this tonight. I am going to get this up tonight. And I'm going to be doing my side work tonight. No rest for the weary. Hey, it has dropped to 86 degrees. I forgot to look at the thermometer on the other side of the mountain because it is always cooler up there. But anyway, thank you for listening to all my musings. I will be doing some editing next week with the time off. I've got to get caught up on videos. I've got hiking videos, biking videos. I've got what I think is a pretty cool driving video that you haven't seen. Oh, it's one all set to music. I've got a couple other little surprises in there. It's just some oddball stuff that I think you'll like. So if you stuck with me this far, thank you very much. Thank you as always for watching, and stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch up again soon. Good night.